That's huge. I've been involved in hiring, tens of people over my career. I've seen people who are comfortable as generalists dealing with, as this person will be. Many specialists that know more about their verticals below them than they do. They've got to be comfortable, secure, and they've also got to be able to manage the staff such that they'll take direction from the council as opposed to the other way around. We don't want to see that. And they also need to have a backbone, stand up, and be part of the relationship with some of our regional partners with their cohorts on that side as well.
What is the state of the city and how did it get here?
Wow, great question. The National Community Survey I alluded to in my opening statement, we've got the bones, this is a great town, we've got the bones of an absolutely magical place, as Jeremy refers to it. The trust in government, the transparency, the value that people see are all low and declining. I think that's a shame. I think that raising the citizens' voice, raising the residents' voice in town, making sure there's transparency and accountability is the road to turning that around. I would like to communicate differently. There's a state of the city now. I would like to have monthly town halls in different neighborhoods because it's more important that we hear from the residents than the residents hear from us.
Yes, well, we do those monthly town halls, mayor and council in the neighborhood, and I absolutely want to continue those. I think the state of the city is amazing. I mean, this place, we could do nothing for the next 4 years, and this place would be better than 99.99% of the places in America to live. So I feel blessed every day to live here and to be a part of this community. I don't know how the state of this city could be anything less than phenomenal every day. But of course we have challenges. We have challenges with affordability, with traffic and transportation. We got things to prepare for the Olympics. We've got projects that feel stuck. That is not the city government I see at all. It does not reflect what I see every day in the city. I see hardworking people trying to do best by the city, and that doesn't reflect my everyday reality, which is that this place is as good as it gets.
As mayor with seats on 2 Olympic committees, how would you prepare the city for the 2034 games, Brian?
Well, the great news about the Olympics, there's been concern that we're behind. And let me reassure you, if we go back to that 2002 timeline, we are still 2.5 years before those games were even awarded, much less done anything for, and we started with nothing. So we are not only not behind in the Olympics, when you talk to folks in the Olympic Committee, the danger is that we actually might go a little too quickly. We want to take the time to understand what our community's visions are for the Olympics. So Park City has a real seat at the table as part of the host communities committee. You heard from Tana. We have a permanent seat as chair. Brad Wilson, the CEO of the Olympics, will be coming here after our election to do a listening tour in the community to hear from us what we want out of the Olympics, what we are going to get from the Olympics. The IOC doesn't come here with a big pot of money like they used to, but we know it's transportation. It is a generational opportunity for transportation investments on our 248 corridor. We're already doing the work to do that planning. So that Olympic planning is already in progress. And second is the fun part, is the gathering spaces, is at Main Street. What do we need to host a great, memorable games for ourselves and other generations that are going to come after us and enjoy it?
Thanks. I think what's important here is that while we had a great Olympics in '02, I don't know that we've profited as much as we could have from the experience that we had then. There are a number of people still in town, a number of great Park City residents and regional residents who can help us recreate the magic, not reinvent the wheel. We've got a series of different committees. We'll be participating in those at various different levels, which makes sense. We've got to be highly coordinated. I think there's also a different emphasis that will be placed in this Olympics. Security is going to play a much greater role than it has in the past. And transportation and housing are other issues that are going to come up, but they've got to pay dividends before, during, and after the Olympics. We want to make sure that we just don't throw a great party.
Last question, starting with Jack. With the state legislature, are you concerned about overreach, and can any good come from state interest in city affairs?
Well, we're not a home rule state. You got to start with where the ball lies. Play the ball where it lies. What's really important is to have good working relationships with the state. And I've worked with the state before. I've helped before in 2018 get medical cannabis approved in Utah. That was something that was wanted. I've worked with people at the state. I've worked with the health department. I've worked with people in the two houses. I kind of know how they work. I have an idea as to what they're looking for. And I think what we need to do is find out what they've got, what we need, and vice versa, and then treat them with respect and dignity and expect the same in return. I don't see any reason we can't improve our relationships with the state. At the end of the day, they hold a big club, but we've got to work with them and try to develop a relationship that will help us pursue our goals.
Well, nothing more important on our legislative platform than local control. We pursue it every day. It's critical to how we determine our future. We do have to have good working relationships with the state. And let me reassure you today, our relationships with the state and Utah are not fractured or broken. We have an excellent working relationship with UDOT. We have an excellent relationship between our leadership team and Carlos Becerra at UDOT. We are a leader in the Utah League of Cities and Towns. We walk the halls of the legislature all the time. So our relationships are good. At the same time, we've been able to defend against legislative overreach. And we've actually been able to advance our agenda in Salt Lake. And we used to be this sort of funny blue dot on this big red ocean with our funny little interests about tourism and wanting to control our destiny. And now we've built allies to the Utah League of Cities and Towns, to all these other places in Utah who have the same concerns about the impact of tourism and nightly rentals, impact on their economy that we do. We found those allies in the Utah League of Cities and Towns and been able to advance our legislative priorities together. So overall, things are great at the Capitol today.
What is the biggest mistake the city council has made in recent years?
Good question. You know, when I look back at my time, I think Tana said it earlier, and you know, not intervening when we were able to with the Vail lift dispute. You know, I look back at the situation with Vail being unable to upgrade 2 lifts at that mountain over 4 years. We can talk about the details, we can talk about what led to it, but fundamentally, when I look at a ski town that stands in the way of its local resorts, improving the ski experience for locals over 4 years, something has gone wrong. So we had the ability at that time to step in, and just frankly, at the start of our term on city council, we didn't even know we had this ability. You know, benefit of experience and hindsight, we would do that again. Not to override the code is the code, but to sit down with Vail and settle the dispute and not let it go as far as it went. You know, if you've been waiting on a lift line and seeing what's happening at that mountain over the last 4 years, or wondering about the lack of investment in that mountain, you know, I think you have the city to blame. I don't think we handle that great.
Mine also revolves around Vail with something different. It would be the not intervening in the patroller strike. I think that was a good opportunity that was foregone. And just to talk about the lift, there's a development agreement. I'm not a fan of circumventing legal contracts. I think if you do that once, you're off to the races and you're not going to look back. That was not a replacement, that was a new lift. It didn't fit, shouldn't have had an administrative permit, should have gone through the process, and it didn't. I think that was a good decision.
Okay, candidates, now it is your turn to ask each other a question. You can have 15 seconds for the question, up to a minute for the answer, and then 30 seconds for a rebuttal if it's needed. And Ryan went first previously, so Jack, we'll start with you.
Okay, Ryan, you negotiated and advocated and voted for the snow park redevelopment. That deal got reworked at the insistence of residents. You were also liaison for the Main Street area plan that incorporated significant development on Sweet Alley and other major changes. The process met with great opposition from business owners, locals, and even former mayors. Now you're supporting development of Clark Ranch on land that was zoned open space. Once again, residents are asking the council to stop, and you're pressing on. There seems to be a pattern where residents are pushing back against initiatives you favor. Why shouldn't this pattern of behavior be under serious scrutiny?
Well, I guess I disagree with your entire characterization of your question. Predictable enough. The Deer Valley deal was broadly supported by residents. There were a minority of residents in the neighborhood who didn't like that change because they wanted to find a way to fight that density that was already approved and hope it never came. We have a responsibility to look out for all of our residents, and that was clearly in the interest based on public feedback, based on leaders who came and spoke to us, based on folks with a long arc of time to say, make a bad development a great development and transform the base area for Park City for future generations. Main Street Area Plan, we held 2 open houses where the KPCW itself reported the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. We brought it before the community, and we listened. We heard from the community. We heard from Dana Williams, who couldn't even wait to the public hearing. Maybe go out and drink a beer with them and tell me how much he hated the hotel on Sweet Alex. So we talked about that. And the important thing is not bringing big plans to the community and pushing those forward, but listening to that community feedback, exactly what we did. So we're not tied to specific access to that plan. I'm happy to go on and address Clark Branch or stuff based on that.
Yes.
We do have some time we gotta be out of here by 8, but I'll give you the same amount of time, and I'm also gonna give you a
Doesn't
chance
matter,
for a
you're
rebuttal.
in charge. Okay.
Okay, so Jack, if you're okay with it,
Perfectly fine.
okay.
Perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
then I'll give you 30 more seconds.
Sure.
Okay.
So Clark Branch is again one of those projects that is supported broadly in Park City, but I understand the discomfort of the neighbors that don't want the development, despite the fact that it's been planned over a 10-year period by unanimous votes of councils and mayors and planned long before the first house was closed in Park City Heights. And that doesn't mean that I don't understand why those residents have concerns. They're looking up at a hillside and would rather have their hillside over housing. But you have to look out for the community as a whole, and you have to have political courage to lean into the decisions the council has made to benefit the broader community, even though you won't hear the rest of the community come out and give public feedback because they won't feel directly impacted.
Jack, I'll give you a rebuttal if you'd like. and
Yeah,
you
I
have a
would.
minute for
I
that.
appreciate that, thanks. I'm not so sure the characterization of either Snow Park that led to the formation of Protect the Loop or the Main Street Area Plan, I would beg to differ on those, but let's just talk about Clark Ranch. We heard somebody come up and Jim came up and spoke earlier about trying to protect that. If you go back and look at the minutes and the actual recollections of people at COSAC, housing was never anticipated there as a municipal use. Could have been a fire station, police station, storage, snowplows, and salt. So now to even have market rate housing in there, I don't see how that fits, and I don't think that the people in Clark Ranch should be characterized as NIMBYs. I think for sure they've got other issues with it, as do I, including accessibility, service by transport, the cost, and a variety of other issues that make it an impractical development.
I'm gonna give Brian a chance to ask a question unless you feel you need another 15 seconds.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say on Clark Branch, and we can sit here and have a disagreement about it. The easiest thing for me to do in this election, there's a lot of voters in Clark Branch, would be to say, yeah, we've been working on this for 10 years, we have a developer at the table, we've taken unanimous votes to bring them there to produce a specific amount of housing, but it's an election year. If I just say, yeah, we'll look at that, we'll move it, we'll look at other places, we'll study it, that's what politicians do. And I don't do that. I ran for office on this stuff. I ran because I care about our workforce, because I think a little bit of housing is okay, because I think ultimately it will benefit the neighborhood. And so we have to have political courage in our system, people who will follow through and not simply bend their decisions in an election year. So I'll take the bullets, I'll lean in, and that's why we have elections, and that's okay.
Jack, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, just quickly.
Okay, then we have to wrap this
Sure.
up.
As
Thank
I
you.
mentioned before, there's affordable housing. We've got Studio Crossing where the investment by the city was limited to the waiver of a fee. There's more land over there where more density for housing for affordable can be had effectively at very little cost to the city, as opposed to pursuing something that's quite expensive in a very remote location, not walkable to anything, at the end of a dead-end road that doesn't exist. I just think it's a complete red herring.
Okay. So then now, we're ready to move on, is that all right? Mainly because I want the audience to have time to ask questions, and the library has been very generous to us, and I don't want to go over our time too much. Okay, so thank you for that. So, I don't even remember whose question is.
It's my point.
Right, okay, thank you, go ahead.
You know, I alluded to it earlier, I think, you know, sort of throughout the campaign, I feel like what I've heard from your supporters online and from you, in your own words, this idea that Park City needs to be taken back. You marched in the parade with the banner that said, "Take Park City back." I mean, those are charged words, and I've heard about developers, you know, the cities in the pocket of developers and resorts and special interests and shattered relationships and fractured this and broken that, and the past 5 mayors who endorsed me led us into our current predicament. I just want to know, as you sit here, in your heart of hearts, with the community before you, leaders past and present, if you really believe the city is as broken and sort of dark in this way that has been portrayed in your campaign.
Absolutely not. I think you're mischaracterizing what I'm trying to do. No, it's not broken. I would agree with you. This is better than 99.99% of cities in the country. But however, if you think it can be better, does that mean that you're a hater? Absolutely not. I strive for better. I don't think that, and when I knock on doors and talk to people, what I'm trying to do is to bring the voice of the residents forward. I don't think it's in balance currently. I think there's things that can be done to increase the residents' voice that will be better for our town. What I would hold out there as a charge for the city is that everything that comes out of City Hall is in the best interest of Park City and its residents. I want to make sure that I'm just another resident like you. I want to make sure that my voice and my peers' voice, all of you in this room, have a say in how we go forward. I don't think it's quite at that level yet. I go to city council meetings and scratch my head. Like, where did this charge come from? I want it to be transparent. If I'm mayor, I am going to issue, within a day, summaries of, take responsibility for issuing summaries of any critical decisions made at the council the night before, so that just as a resident, you don't have to stay up till 10:30 at night to watch the vote. It should be easy for residents to know what's going on so they can be participatory in our democracy.
Brian, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Sure, yeah, and I think, you know, I think I agree with a lot of what you said there, and there we go. All right. And that's sort of the Jack I know, and that I was, you know, a little bit, you know, trepidatious, excited when you ran, and you're a smart guy. We've always had a cordial relationship. And I feel like there's quite a big delta between we should always try to make the city better, that's already phenomenal, and take Park City back, and everyone seems to be in the tank to a special interest, a resort, or a developer. It's a very different vision that I hear from you in all the relationships we've had over time, you know, together, and a vision that feels very dark about where we are as a town. It's something that just hasn't come across well to me in the campaign.
As I said, I love Park City. Don't get confused about that.
Okay, now I'd really like to move on to the audience portion, if that's okay with you. If that's okay, great. So audience, if you come in on this night, you will have 15 seconds to ask for a question, and I appreciate it if you keep it tight so we can get to as many as possible. I don't know if we're going to get to this whole line, but good for you. So you'll have 15 seconds to ask the question. Please state your name, and then you'll have 1 minute to answer.
My name is Sue Gould. Ryan, you say there was unanimous support for putting affordable housing on Clark Ranch. With all due respect, it doesn't seem you are reading or listening. The entirety of COSAC minutes and the group's own recommendation to council, included in the record available for your independent review, shows that not only was housing not unanimously recommended, it wasn't recommended at all. Not by anyone. It wasn't even discussed. And former COSAC members like Jim tonight confirm exactly that. How do you justify
Not what I said.
relentless
Not what I
push to
said.
rezone open space? Does history not matter? Does the intent of an open space purchase and those who guided it not matter? And what's next? Housing on Treasure Hill, the Armstrong pasture, Bonanza Flat.
You'll have 1
Is
minute.
that a question for me? I think Jim objects to your characterization too. Look, the reality is, I know the history well, and you're right. When COSAC purchased the land, they earmarked 10 acres for municipal uses, and very soon after, the council tasked by their own desire and by the state to find opportunities to build affordable housing in Park City, put a circle around those 10 acres and push forward. It was delayed by COVID and circumstance and annexation of the land. We brought it forward with a developer to a public-private partnership, and that's how it's gone for 10 years, or let's say 8 or 9, a very long time. So I'll also just respectfully disagree with your characterization of that history on some level, and I don't think we're going to find agreement on that project.
My name is Tori Stewart, and Ryan, I'd like you to please address the accusations that are being thrown around in the media that state you are always pro-development and that you've never seen a workforce housing project you didn't like.
I'm glad you asked that question too, because I do support workforce housing. But the reality is I support balance. And so there's been a lot of nonsense put online from never seen a development he doesn't like to, all the way down to the grossest things that I don't even know if the people are real that they would say online, welcome to social media. My record is clear. I led the Planning Commission to deny the Dakota Pacific project at the expense of open space, or of affordable housing. I led the Planning Commission to deny development of affordable housing in open space at Highland Flats. I led the Planning Commission to deny the expansion of the outlets, contrary to the general plan, at the expense of affordable housing. I led the council to deny a project called Lincoln Station on Bidner Road at the expense of affordable housing. Further, the only market rate development approved by this council during my time on city council is Studio Crossing, and I was only one of 2 votes to vote against it. And when the developer came back, when the project was already coming on out of the ground, looking for an appalling $2 million fee waiver, a real developer giveaway for folks who want to talk about that, I was the only council member to stand and vote against that. That is the most despicable thing I've seen the city council do in my time. So if you want to do development real quick and really make a lot of developers happy and get into development, being on the Planning Commission for 5 years, the council for 4, and simply saying no to development over and over again is about the worst way you can hope to make friends with developers that you will find.
Was that fair? I don't know if that was fair.
Talk about the $1.9 million fee waiver. Has there been a workforce or affordable housing project done that hasn't gotten a fee waiver?
I can't answer that, but our code is clear that public or nonprofit projects are eligible for fee waivers. That project is neither. Further, the absurdity of the fee waiver is fee waivers are an incentive for developers to deliver affordable housing that otherwise would not. In that development, the incentive for the developer to deliver that housing was a change in their entitlement to deliver tons of nightly rentals and commercial density, which consumed the affordable housing we've created because there's demand for more workers and it has no impact at all. That's why those projects don't get fee waivers, and that's why the code is what it is.
Thank you.
Andrew Morford. Mr. Dickey, during your time on City Council, there have been credible allegations of conflicts between your council duties and your private business interests. I refer to your dealings with the Deer Valley Snowpark Village project. These conflicts can only magnify if you're elected as mayor. How can you act in the best interests of the town and its residents with such inherent conflicts?
Well, this is great, and Jack's going to really appreciate the question that you have coming right behind you. I'm enjoying your letters to the editor, Andrew, and this conflict that you brought up. And what he references is the fact that my wife and I own Model HOA. We manage HOAs in town. We've built this business from nothing that we're incredibly proud of, that we get to interact with thousands of residents every day. We do represent some HOAs in Deer Valley who did not support, at least at the HOA leadership level, our boards, the agreement between Deer Valley and the city. And so as a council member, what I did was vote against the interests of my customers, my own financial interests, in order to support the deal that was good for the city. So I don't know how you could manage a conflict any better than subverting your own financial interests for the city. Now, if we can talk about the work of HOA management, the landscaper and the snow removal doesn't have a whole lot to do with lobbying the government. It's not what we do, but that's a bizarre way to frame a conflict.
Thank you.
Sue, Rail Trail.
Sue Rosenberg. I think we all agree that we want to be informed citizens and contribute to the community in Park City. And one way to do that is to stay informed about what's happening at council meetings. I haven't attended a lot of them, but I've attended quite a few since we've lived here. And I don't think I've ever been home before 10:30 at night. What's your strategy as mayor, since you will run the meetings? How are you going to keep them to a succinct amount of time and really have democracy be active?
Sure. Fine, I'll give you a break. Thanks, you're gonna get laryngitis over there. You know, I've run a lot of meetings in my career, and having an agenda, there's basically the NATO theory of meetings, so the nature of the meeting, the agenda, the timing, and the outcome. Those should all be known by all participants before the meeting begins. If you do, lo and behold, things sort of go a little bit smoother. And I think the other thing is to work behind the scenes to make sure that discussions are kept from stream of conscious. You've been to enough meetings, I've been to enough meetings, and sometimes you kind of wonder about that. But then the other thing I alluded to before is having the city manager make sure that the staff provides a series of actionable alternatives that are truly vetted, so that true decisions, strategic decisions can be made pretty succinctly if one reads the report in advance of the meeting.
So would you be in favor of putting time limits on agenda items on the listed agenda? So for example, when we, the citizens, want to hear what's going on, we know exactly when to show up?
I think that would be a little bit of overreach. You can't anticipate in advance what the richness of the conversation will be. If you knew that, that would be easier to do, but I wouldn't hold out for that.
Ryan, I'll give you a chance to respond as well if you'd like.
Yeah, I love the idea of time boxing the agenda. The challenge is you just don't know how much public input you're going to get or how the discussion's going to go. So we're a little bit stuck there. I think two things, hold us back. One is we just lack vision, a clear vision, a cohesive vision as a council. And so when issues come before us, it feels sometimes like we're sort of boiling the ocean from scratch instead of having a clear discussion about initiative, how it fits into our vision as a council, which really can make it a lot easier to make a decision instead it just goes on and on. And then the second piece is those staff reports. We need to have decisions that come before council with clear decisions to be made. And part of that is the mayor's role to really take that discussion and shape it towards those questions instead of simply letting things go on and on. Because you shouldn't have to be here until 10:30 night to know what's going on in town.
Okay, thank you. Depending on how long the answers are, we'll have time for one or two more questions from the audience, and then we're going to give you each a minute for closing statements.
So real quickly, Peter Mark, 44-year-old town permanent resident. Matt Diaz and the mayors of the past, I know all of them. I've been involved in city council meetings and battles from the 80s all the way through today, and what I'm seeing is alarming to me is this division in our community. And with all due respect, Ryan, I really appreciate the time that you put into the community, and your heart is good, but I have a question for you regarding the Mine Bench proposal decision vote that you made to destroy recreational open space, wildlife habitat, and the trail system, behind which I feel was done. It was pushed back on by the community for 5 years. It's a horrible place to do it. And at the last minute, all of a
Could you
sudden,
ask your question, please?
at the last minute, suddenly came in front of the council. Megan McKenna, all of the Deer Valley big business hotels came and were in favor of destroying our open space and trails on the Mine Bench. And I was there. There were two people that stood up.
Please ask your question.
You were the only one to vote to proceed with it. And I'm very proud of Tana and Max for changing your mind.
There's a cop in the meeting.
Peter, sit down.